Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick live stream for today, January 20th, which is Friday. It is a 9-game main slate overall. What we're going to be doing in this video, in this live stream, whether you're watching on the live stream or on replay, going to be going through a recap of yesterday's talk they turned out, got that one off to the side, and then we'll be talking through some injuries for today's slate. We're going to be talking through core picks for DraftKings and FanDuel, and then if we have time after that, we're going to look at some prize picks, especially in terms of fantasy score for players today, kind of give you guys my thoughts. If you are new to my channel, new to the stream, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. If you are already subscribed and have not yet turned on that notification bell, please do so. It'll let you know every single time that I do upload anything, whether it is a video or go live with the live stream. I'm going to throw my prize pick code down in the chat as well. So if anybody is brand new to prize picks, you can sign up, use that code. You're going to get a little bit of benefit. I'll get a little bit of benefit. Regards. Looks like we're lagging, so bear with me as we get through that. But going to talk a little bit about the picks yesterday, kind of what went right, what went wrong in terms of those picks. So at the point guard position on DraftKings, we went with Fred VanVleet at $8,100. Got to 49.75 points, so he was a hit yesterday. Shooting guard went with Damon Lee at $4,600. He obviously got this yesterday, so not the worst play in the world, but could have been a little bit better. But 4-game main slate was not a bad play by any means. And then we had Josh Hart as small forward. You know, he's been down a lot as of late, hasn't been doing too much offensively. Unfortunately, that struggle continued yesterday, but at the $4,900 price tag was definitely worth taking a shot on. At 25 points, what we're looking for out of him. Only got to 19.75. He's a mess, 2 for 6 shooting from the field. Just didn't do a whole heck of a lot yesterday. Then at power forward, we had Kyle Anderson at $5,600. Looking for 28 points. He got to 49.5, so he was a good hit yesterday. And then at center, we had his teammate Naz Reid, who was probably the most popular player on yesterday's slate. $4,600, looking for 23 out of him. Unfortunately, only got to 21.25. He was a miss. He only played 22 minutes. He got in foul trouble very early on in that game yesterday. He had 3 fouls in the first 4 minutes of the game, so that was just kind of unfortunate there. Still not the worst play in the world, but definitely could have been a little bit better. But a lot of people were on him yesterday as well, so really didn't lose any ground by playing him either way. On the FanDuel side, we had Fred VanVleet at that point guard position once again, $7,900. Got to 48.2, so he was a hit over there as well. At shooting guard, still had Damon Lee, $4,800, so a little bit more expensive. Looking for 24 points on the FanDuel side. Unfortunately, he only got to 18.6, so he was a mess. Mainly just scored the ball yesterday, although he did play like 35, 36 minutes. Then at small forward, we had Anthony Edwards at $8,700. Looking for 43, 44 points. Got to 43.5, so he was a hit as well yesterday. At power forward, we went Jeremy Grant once again. His price tags can keep coming down. He looked like a DA, unfortunately. The Blazers really didn't do too much as a team yesterday outside of Damian Lillard, but Jeremy Grant, we were looking for 33, 34 at $6,700. Got to 28. He was a mess, mainly just scored the ball yesterday, not too much in terms of rebounds, steals, assists, blocks, or anything else like that. And then last but not least, we had Naz Reid once again at $5,000. Looking for 25 points time, he got to 21.4. He was a mess, as I mentioned on the DraftKings side. He only had 22 minutes yesterday as he did get into foul trouble in the first half, where he picked up 3 fouls in the first 3 minutes. Unfortunately, that kind of limited him early in the first half, but he didn't even pick up a single foul for the rest of the game, so it wasn't something that we could really predict going forward. But if he plays those couple extra minutes, he's going to pay that price tag overall. So not the greatest day, a little bit of hit or miss. My DraftKings lineup ended up, the main one that I ran out was 294 points. It was enough to double up in pretty much most contests. FanDuel was a little bit tougher yesterday, but you're going to have that. So it seems like DraftKings has been a little bit easier than FanDuel as of late, though. But with that being said, we'll get moved over into these injuries and play for tonight's slate. It is a 9-game main slate overall. There is, let me see here. We got 1 game starting at 7 o'clock. We got 3 games, starting at 7:30. So the first game, we got kind of that island game there is the Pelicans and the Orlando Magic. The Pelicans are without Brandon Ingram, EJ Liddell, Zion Williamson once again. Now we have Herb Jones, who's questionable. He's missed the past 4 games with a back injury. We'll see if he plays tonight or not. I would assume that he's trending towards coming back, but we'll just have to see as the day moves along. Obviously, being the first game, we should have that news sooner rather than later. And then Najee Marshall is questionable with a toe injury, so he's a guy that's been eating up a lot of minutes for this Pelicans team. Obviously, if he doesn't play, Trey Murphy's going to look a little bit better because he's going to get some more scoring opportunities. Dyson Daniels has a solidified role kind of already if Herb Jones is out, but if Najee Marshall's out, probably helps it out a little bit as well. We could see some more Jose Alvarado. We could see some more Larry Nance Jr. at that power forward spot. We could even see Jackson Hayes at the power forward spot tonight as well. So kind of opens up some more minutes. Could be some potential value on this Pelicans team overall tonight. Not anybody that would become like a core player or anything else like that, but some good GPP pay down options overall. Then for the Orlando Magic, they are without Jonathan Isaac and Chuma Okeke once again. Franz Wagner is questionable to play tonight. He's dealing with an ankle injury. We saw him deal with an ankle injury earlier this season, and he played through it. So there is a pretty good chance that he ends up playing tonight. Not sure the severity of that ankle injury at this point in time, but if he doesn't play, it's going to open up opportunities for other guys. I feel more comfortable taking shots on like Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony in GPP formats if that was something you want to do. Paulo Banchero, price tag came down a little bit. Probably looks a little bit better if Franz Wagner doesn't play once again tonight. Big question there would just be who starts in his place. Is it a Bol Bol? Is it a Mo Wagner? Or are they going to start like a Terrence Ross, a Caleb Houston, somebody like that? It was just kind of that filler spot overall. Then we move to the New York Knicks, who are without Mitchell Robinson. He recently had surgery. I believe it was on his thumb. He's going to be out for like at least 3 weeks, I think they said. So we're going to see Isaiah Hartenstein and Jericho Sims get more minutes, obviously. Who ends up starting tonight is kind of a big question. You can play both these guys on both DraftKings and FanDuel because both are probably going to get at least 20 minutes. On DraftKings, they are both the flat rate $3,000. On DraftKings, I think Sims is $3,500 or $3,600. Hartenstein is $4,000. So there is some good opportunities there. They don't have to completely split all the center minutes between those two guys. Julius Randle could pick up some. Maybe we see Obi Toppin and Julius Randle playing alongside each other, which seems like forever since we've seen that. But Julius Randle did close the most recent game at that center position, and he's a guy that has a very, very good history against this Atlanta Hawks team. So it's just something to kind of watch out there. Maybe if Randall gets more center minutes and they bump everybody down like they did the last time, maybe Emmanuel quickly looks a little bit better in GPPs as well. Then for the Atlanta Hawks, we have Bogdan Bogdanovic, who is questionable with knee soreness, and then Trae Young, who is questionable with like an ankle soreness type thing. Kind of a 50-50 shot whether or not these guys play tonight. I would assume that more likely than not, Bogdanovic and Young both don't play in this game. DeJounte Murray would look a lot better in that case. Who becomes the fifth starter in that case is another question. It could be Aaron Holiday. It could be AJ Griffin. They could enter the value range. I wouldn't mind AJ Griffin on DraftKings at $3,000 if he were to start in this game overall. And then for the Golden State Warriors, they're on the back-to-back, so there's a lot that we just don't know at this point in time. All these guys changed to game-time decision tags, as you see below. And Klay Thompson is listed as doubtful. Thompson has not played on back-to-backs this year, so he's going to be out. Whether or not any of these guys are healthy enough to play is kind of another issue. I would assume they're all out once again. And then we could also see the Golden State Warriors rest their starters like they have done on back-to-backs multiple times this season. So if that's the case, you're going to see Curry rest, Andrew Wiggins probably rest as well, since both of them recently came back from injuries. I'd assume Draymond rest in that case. We still probably see Kevon Looney start overall because they don't really have too many other center options. Plus, in the past, they had kept starting him because of his consecutive game started streak. He was like the longest in the NBA. But at this point in time, he kind of lost that last night when Draymond started and he didn't. So that is something else. Or I should say Jordan Poole started and technically didn't because Draymond shifted down to the 5 spot. So kind of something interesting there. We'll have to see what happens if these guys do get ruled out. Couldn't be a lot of value on this Golden State Warriors team overall. Jordan Poole is going to look pretty good. Dante DiVincenzo is going to look pretty good. You can take some shots on some other guys if that is the case. Then for the then on the opposite side of that game, we had the Cleveland Cavaliers. Dylan Windler and Dean Wade are both out once again. And then we did get news recently this morning that Ricky Rubio is out. He recently returned from his ACL injury. They're giving him the night off. Not sure whether or not they have a back-to-back today and tomorrow. I haven't looked too much into that at this point in time. Donovan Mitchell, dealing with a groin injury, missed the last time out, is listed as questionable tonight. We'll see if he ends up playing or not. Obviously, if he misses once again, Karis LeVert's going to look really good. Darius Garland's going to look really good. Those are both good plays on both sides. Evan Mobley would be more interesting on DraftKings. You could play Jared Allen on DraftKings as well. And then kind of take some flyers on FanDuel if you really, really want to. Then let's see. We move down to the Miami Nikola Jovic, Duncan Johnson, year 7. Pretty much same thing we saw last time out. Udonis Haslem technically listed as questionable, but he really doesn't play either way. He's an assistant coach at this point in time. We did see Kyle Lowry return last time out. Saw some weird minutes there too overall. He played about 25. Gabe Vincent played about 26. Tyler Hero was kind of down in minutes. It was kind of weird. Don't really see that too often. And then Victor Oladipo was around 25, 26 minutes as well. Caleb Martin played a ton of minutes, which I wouldn't expect to be the case going forward since he's really not one player to get their better defenders, but you'd like to see maybe Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo's minutes be a little bit higher in that case. But in terms of the Heat, not really looking at too much here. Maybe Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo if you want to take a shot there. For the Dallas Mavericks, they are without Maxi Kleber, Christian Wood, and McKinley Wright. Christian Wood is the new one. He broke his thumb, so he's going to be out for a little while. So Dwight Powell, JaVale McGee, they might look all right tonight if you want to take some shots on them at that center position. Davis Bertans could be an interesting one, especially on the DraftKings side where he, I believe, is either the flat minimum or pretty close to it. So you don't need too much out of it. If he gets the minutes, if he scores the ball, if they need scoring in this game, he could look pretty good overall. Probably looks a little bit better if Tim Hardaway doesn't play tonight, but Tim Hardaway is listed coming back from his own ankle injury. So I would have some exposure to like Tim Hardaway in this chance in GPP if he's playing, Davis Bertans if he's not. Dorian Finney-Smith is pretty interesting on both sides. Spencer Dinwiddie, you can definitely take some shots because they do need other guys to score the ball besides Luka Doncic. Doncic definitely going to be in play on both sides. And then obviously you can take some shots at both centers and Dwight Powell and JaVale McGee. And on FanDuel, they're kind of interesting overall because Dwight Powell does have power forward versatility as well. And then you could say the same thing with snap at the top with the New York Knicks centers as we're talking about them. And then Jericho Sims does have power forward versatility on DraftKings as well for whatever reason. So could be some interesting pay down options at that center position. Some of those guys do have multiple versatility positions in terms of both sites. And then we have the Clippers, who were without Luke Kennard and John Wall. It's a pretty standard lineup here. You're going to see Terrence Mann, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris. Zubac probably entered the starting lineup, or be the starting lineup tonight, I should say. So not too much interest in there. If you want to take some shots on Paul George, you can do it. Kawhi Leonard's definitely overpriced at this point in time. Terrence Mann, we've seen that monster crash game last time out, so not really chasing him, but their minutes are definitely there. On the Spurs side, just Devin Vassell out once again. If you want to take some shots on Trey Jones, Keldon Johnson, you can definitely do it. Jakob Poeltl is a very interesting option tonight if he gets the minutes. And then we move over to the Pacers, who are without Kendall Brown, Tyrese Haliburton, Daniel Tice. Pretty much what we've seen out of them as of late. I'm not super interested in anybody on this team. You can take some shots on Nembhard. You can take some shots on McConnell. Buddy Hield had like a random game where he barely played. Benedict Mathurin was pretty awful last time out. Nesmith hasn't been the same since he's came back from illness or injury or whatever it was. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was just an illness. And then Miles Turner would be like the only guy you really want to target on this Pacers team overall. Outside of like Nembhard and McConnell taking some shots GPP. I did not mean to click that something off there. On the opposite side for the Denver Nuggets, as long as the game's started, these guys look pretty interesting. Jamal Murray, very interesting on DraftKings, more of a GP on FanDuel. And then Michael Porter Jr. can take shots on both sides. Aaron Gordon, you can take GPP shots on both sides. Nikola Jokic is going to look pretty good on both sides. Colin Gillespie is out for them tonight. Peyton Watson, Jeff Green, both listed as questionable. If Jeff Green comes back, Cam Carr is going to lose his minutes, but not really anything that we're too concerned about for DFS overall. Moving down to the Brooklyn Nets, we got Kevin Durant out once again. This is a back-to-back. Kyrie Irving does have that little gray bar next to his name, so maybe you're concerned there that he doesn't play. But he finally had that big breakout game without Kevin Durant. Scored 30 points. DraftKings points, it was like over 60. So definitely can take some shots on him once again today, especially against the Utah Jazz defense that's not the best in the world. Can take some other shots on Brooklyn Nets guys, whether it's Joe Harris, Seth Curry, Royce O'Neal if you want to get there, but he's a little bit too expensive for me. Ben Simmons in GPP, as well as Nick Claxton in GPP. Obviously, Ben Simmons did get ejected last night, which kind of sucked for that point, but some pretty interesting options overall there. For the Memphis Grizzlies, Danny Green's out once again. Zaire Williams dealing with an illness is questionable to play, but pretty much looking at your standard issue Grizzlies team. John Morant's interested in GPPs. Desmond Bane, he's all right on DraftKings, more so a GPP play on FanDuel tonight. Zone Brooks is cheap on both sites, but he's played like garbage lately. So not really chasing him myself. He's one of my least favorite players in the NBA either way. He's just kind of a punk, honestly. No offense to like anybody in his family, but just kind of the attitude that he's shown over the years between college and the NBA. Jaren Jackson, I like Jaren Jackson quite a bit on DraftKings. He's reasonably priced there. On FanDuel, he's a little bit more of a GPP play overall, but he's been playing extremely well as of late. And then on the Lakers side, we got Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, Lonnie Walker all out once again. LeBron James listed as questionable, but he's expected to play because he's been listed as questionable like the past 2 weeks. And I think he's only missed one game in those past 2 weeks. Then we move over to Oklahoma City Thunder and the Sacramento Kings. For the Thunder, Jang, Povashevsky, Robinson are all out once again. So pretty much what we've seen, for a while now. That center position is kind of the big question mark for them. If Domantas Sabonis plays for the Kings tonight, I would assume that Mike Muscala gets the start. If it's like no Sabonis tonight and Rashawn Holmes starts, maybe that's the case where we get like a Jalen Williams, the center, starting. If it's like a small ball center, maybe like a Trey Lyles or a Metu, then maybe we get the Kenrich Williams start at like that kind of center position once again for Oklahoma City Thunder. Could be some value there overall on both teams. It really just depends on who ends up playing. But with the Kings side, we got Dellavedova, Alex Len, Sabonis. All this is questionable. Obviously, if Sabonis is out, it opens up value in Rashawn Holmes, potentially Metu, and potentially Trey Lyles. Obviously, if Alex Len plays, he could potentially be in that mix as well. They got a lot of big guys that they could run out there at that center position overall. But with that being said, that's kind of a quick little rundown on all the injuries for today's 9-game main slate overall. Obviously, there's going to be quite a few that we're watching throughout the day. Domantas Sabonis. Then we have LeBron James, who's expected to play either way. Jamal Murray will keep an eye out, but he's pretty good since he hurt his ankle. Either way, Tim Hardaway Jr., in case he would not end up playing. Donovan Mitchell is going to be a very, very big one. If he doesn't play, Darius Garland, Karis LeVert are both going to look pretty good. This Atlanta Hawks news here with Bogdanovich and Trae Young. Franz Wagner be a pretty interesting one as well. And team here with Herb Jones and Najee Marshall could open up some value. If we do get news that the Warriors are not playing their starters tonight, could be a massive value spot as well. But with that being said, we'll get rid of the injuries up on the screen. We'll go over to DraftKings and talk about some core picks for today. So let me get DraftKings up here real quick. So in terms of the point guard position tonight, I have De'Aaron Fox once again. I like him quite a bit. It should be a pretty good spot against, the Oklahoma City Thunder once again. He's only $8,200. Look for 41 points out. He's averaging 40.5 so far in the season. If Sabonis doesn't play in this game, he's going to look even better. So do like the upside quite a bit with De'Aaron Fox once again tonight. Then it's shooting guard. Kind of went with the pay down option tonight in Dyson Daniels. He's obviously been playing more minutes for the Pelicans. If Herb Jones and Najee Marshall both don't end up playing tonight, he's going to look pretty good. $3,700, only look for 19 points out. Currently, I'm projected for 20. He's been getting right around 20 the last couple of games. Decent value spot early on in the day. As the day moves along, there could potentially be other value coming out, especially if we get some Warriors news that maybe he gets bumped. But as always, I'll have my updated core about 20 to 30 minutes prior to lock as well. At small forward, I really like Dorian Finney-Smith today at $3,800. Looking for 19 points down. That's what he's averaging on the season. Came back, played big minutes right away. Had like 24 DraftKings points. Currently, I'm projected for 22, which is actually a pretty good pay down option spot at $3,800. Definitely has some upside for more, especially if he's playing well in the minutes that he was playing, and obviously shown that he can handle those minutes once again coming back from his injury. Then a power forward, I really like Julius Randle. He's $9,800. So yes, you're paying up quite a bit for him. You're looking for 49 points. He's averaging 46.5 on the season. Could see some center minutes, probably get some extra rebounds. Playing against the Atlanta Hawks, who is probably his favorite team to play against because he's had a lot of success versus them throughout his NBA career, especially in recent seasons. So definitely do like Julius Randle tonight. Currently, I'm projected for 51 points overall. Then at center, we got his teammate in Isaiah Hartenstein. He's $3,000. I assume that he gets the start in place of Mitchell Robinson tonight. If you want to take a shot on Jericho Sims instead of Isaiah Hartenstein, I don't have a problem with that. If you want to play Dwight Powell, you want to play JaVale McGee in this spot, you can definitely do that as well. There's a lot of good value center options out there tonight. Isaiah Hartenstein is just kind of the safest one for me to project and put in there, but he may end up being the most popular as well. Currently, I'm projected for about 21, 22 points tonight. Obviously, we're only looking for 15 out of him since he's at the flat minimum of $3,000, but a pretty safe play overall tonight. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you'll have $21,500 remaining. That is just over $7,100 per player. So you get some room and flexibility if you want to pay up for a stud player like a Luka Doncic, like a Nikola Jokic. You can definitely do that. Or if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, that's definitely fine on tonight's slate as well. But with that being said, we're going to close out of the DraftKings side, move over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there. FanDuel was a little bit tougher today, if we're being completely honest. So we're going to get that shared up here in a minute. So on the FanDuel side, we still have Aaron Fox once again. This is still loading on screen there. He's $8,300, looking for 42 points at him. And he's averaging just over 39 on the season. I do like that matchup once again against Oklahoma City Thunder, as I said on the DraftKings side already. If there's no Domantas Sabonis tonight, looks even better, but currently having projected for 44 fantasy points tonight. Then at shooting guard, we got Joe Harris, who 2 games ago, very down game. Last night, pretty good once again. Just kind of a cheap play here. There's not a lot of cheap plays that really stand out on the FanDuel side overall. $4,100, looking for 21 points. Currently, I'm projected for 22 tonight. Going against the Utah team that's not the greatest on defense, so it could be an opportunity for him to really shine. Just kind of depends on how many minutes he gets overall tonight. If Seth Curry gets hot, it could be Seth Curry. I don't mind playing Seth Curry as well tonight, but he's $5,100, so a little bit more expensive overall. At small forward, I went with Tim Hardaway Jr. Obviously, this is expecting him to play once again tonight. So he's coming off that ankle injury. Maybe he's limited minutes wise, maybe he's not, but obviously he missed 2 games. I do like the upside with him, more of a GPP play than like a cash game play or anything, but at $5,600, I like to take that chance. We're only looking for 28 points. I'm currently having projected for about 27, 28 tonight. Then in power forward, we're going right back to Julius Randle at $9,900, looking for 49, 50 points out of him. If he gets that tonight, it's that matchup. We're going against the Atlanta Hawks. He might play some center tonight. He might get some extra rebounds. He's going against the team that he's always had success against, or more times than not had success against. And probably his favorite matchup in the NBA in terms of teams that to go against. And I really do like him once again. $5,100 or 51 points is what we do have him projected for once again. And then last but not least, we have Isaiah Hartenstein. He is $4,000 on FanDuel side. If you want to take a shot on Jericho Sims, Dwight Powell, JaVale McGee, somebody else like that, that's a little bit cheaper, you can definitely do that as well. But we're only looking for 20 points. I'm currently projected for 22. Definitely has a ton of upside for more if he plays the minutes tonight. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here on the FanDuel side, you will have $28,100 remaining, just over $7,000 per player. So a little bit of room and potential to pay up for a star player if that's something you want to do, and then kind of build from there. Or if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, that's definitely fine on tonight's slate as well. As I've kind of already alluded to and mentioned to, there could be some other values that do open up throughout the day, although we have some decent ones to start the day as well. I'll be listing all the injury updates throughout the day down in the comments on this video. If you guys have any questions related to NBA DFS for today, if you're watching on the live stream, throw it in the live stream chat, or if you're watching on replay, leave it down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, with those questions, just let me know if it's a more DraftKings or FanDuel specific question so I can best help you as quickly as possible. But with that being said, that's kind of the core picks that I do have for today. And then as always, I'll be doing the updated core about 20 to 30 minutes prior to lock, or as those updates do become available, I'll post as many starting lineups as I can get to tonight as well. And then with that being said, since this is the main part for the NBA DFS core pick video, we're running about 23 minutes or so at this point in time. I'm going to go over to Prize Picks. We're going to talk a little bit over there. So if you guys have any specific NBA DFS questions or Prize Pick questions, feel free to leave them in the chat or down in the comments as well. But I'm going to stop sharing the FanDuel, excuse me. And we'll go over to Prize Picks. Prize Picks, there is a great play for today because we essentially have a free square for today as well. So we see here, right up here on the screen, Luka Doncic. Let me scroll down just a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit better. Luka Doncic over 0.5 points tonight. So as long as Luka Doncic scores at least 1 point today, you got 1 free square on your card. So when we're building a card, you're going to throw Luka Doncic on there. And I'm not sure quite the limit on the times that you can do that, but you can definitely do more than one lineup because I've done this in the past before. So he's going to look pretty good. In general, I like looking at the fantasy points, and we haven't really gotten a chance to, or I should say, I haven't really gotten a chance to look at these so far because a lot of these recently came up and I was preparing for the live stream as well. So we're going to go through it. I'm going to talk about whether or not I like them, kind of what I have them projected for. So CJ McCollum, 41.5. I don't mind that line. Obviously, he's been down the last couple games, but it's not something I'm particularly betting on. Paulo Banchero, probably not betting on at 36.5. Jonas Valanciunas, 36.5. I got him predicted for 36, so not really betting on that one. Markel Fultz is pretty much in line. Wendell Carter is pretty much in line. We're trying to find like edges here because a lot of the times these lines are going to be pretty tight, especially compared to like what I have them projected for. But if there's anybody that, that's like 2-3 points over or under in a certain direction, that's kind of the ones that I like to point out. So Darius Garland, there's definitely a path for that 41.5 if Donovan Mitchell misses, but obviously we want to be quick on the trigger on that news. So if we get news that Donovan Mitchell is ruled out, we want to move over to Prize Picks pretty quickly and then try to bet on that. Sometimes they'll be quick to pull that off though. Then we got Steph Curry, 43.5 is not bad if he plays, but there is that chance that they rest the starters tonight. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, there's no real leverage there. Luka Doncic is pretty much in line with what we're looking. Jimmy Butler at 37.5 is kind of interesting, but he's not really been the Jimmy Butler out past seasons like we've really been looking for. So there is the chance that he goes over this, but obviously we've seen 3 out of the last 5 games he's been under it. So that's kind of something that's concerned there. Spencer Dinwiddie at 29.5. I do have predicted about 32, 33 today. So there's definitely a good chance there. He's done it 4 out of the past 5 games. Could see some extra shots and some usage with no Christian Wood out there on the court. Obviously, since he's been in that starting lineup with Luka Doncic, his usage has kind of gone down as opposed to like him coming off the bench when they weren't playing quite as many minutes together, but he's still going to be out there pretty much all the minutes that Luka Doncic isn't, especially with no Christian Wood at this point in time. So I wouldn't mind betting the over at 29.5 on Spencer Dinwiddie, so we can throw him on our little list of ones that I do like so far as well. Let's see. Bam Adebayo is pretty much in line. Tim Hardaway Jr., 24.5. I really don't mind. I haven't projected, for like 27, 28 tonight, but there is some risk due to the injury. He's obviously a guy that is super, super scoring dependent. Same thing with kind of Spencer Dinwiddie. Somebody else has to score the ball besides Luka, and there's going to be a little bit more usage to go around without Christian Wood. So if you want to bet the Tim Hardaway one, you can do that as well. Tyler Hero, most of the time this season, 30.5 would be kind of a smash play. But, last game we didn't see him play a ton of minutes, so that is kind of something to be avoiding there, I think, at this point in time. Dorian Finney-Smith at 19.5. I don't mind whatsoever. Obviously, we saw his first game back. He got 23 3 points. He's been over this probably more times than not on the season. Should be getting the good minutes. There isn't that much dip, especially without Christian Wood. He might get a couple extra rebounds as well if he's starting at that 4 position. So don't mind doing Dorian Finney-Smith. A lot of Mavericks so far, as you kind of see as the theme. Lowry, there is some upside there as well, but the Mavericks slower paced team, his minutes could be limited once again. So there is some concerns there. Julius Randle, 40.5. I got 51 on him. If you want to go there, you can definitely do it. But 40.5 is still a pretty aggressive line either way, even though he has had a ton of success versus Atlanta in the past. Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett pretty much in line. Quentin Grimes pretty much in line. Kawhi Leonard with Paul George back, 43.5. You could bet the under on this one, but obviously it's Kawhi Leonard. He could go off in a big way on any given slate. Let's see what else we got here. Keldon Johnson. It's reasonable to bet the over, but there is the chance to blow out, so I'd be a little bit more cautious with that. Marcus Morris, as much as I love you, dude, you've been kind of garbage lately. So betting the under wouldn't be the craziest thing in this world. I'd love to see that line just be a little bit more than 21.5 though. Zubac, there's really a case for the under in Zubac here, honestly, because how many minutes does he play? This game could be a blowout. He's not as efficient when there is Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the floor. So 27.5 is a pretty aggressive line for him. I'm having more around 26. So there is a case that you can make to bet on Zubac. Obviously, at this point in time, there isn't a lot of these fantasy scores up because you only see part of the games. These are ones going out to 7:10 Central Time since I'm in Central Time. So it'll be 8:10 or 8 o'clock Eastern Time when you're looking at it from the schedule perspective. Ooh, it looks like we got Kyrie Irving even popping up. We got a couple more just since I said something. Jakob Pearl, I got it projected at 31, 32, so he's pretty much in line. Jeremy Sohan right around 22, 23, so he's pretty much right in line. Kyrie Irving, if you want to do it against Utah, just make sure he's playing tonight. Laurie Markman, obviously you saw the big game back, but not something I've really been on. Claxton, he's been having all those blocks like crazy lately, but he's going to have a down game here sooner rather than later. Jordan Clarkson, I got around 32, so not really betting on him. Malik Beasley could be an interesting one at 23.5 just because he's been under that the past 4 games. Obviously, Lauren Markman's back, so if he's not shooting the ball well, Colin Sexton's going to be out there. If Vanderbilt plays well, he might be out there. There's a lot of opportunities for Malik Beasley to fail, so I wouldn't be against 23 on the under on 23.5 for him. Mike Conley is pretty much right in line. Walker Kessler is pretty much right in line. So you see a lot of guys that are pretty safely priced at this point in time. I will make a note here too. So like I do like the Spencer Dinwiddie one. I do like the Luka Doncic one here. If I just go here and I try to place my bet, we'll just say we're going to put $5 on it, place entry. It's going to yell at me and say entries must have at least 2 players from 2 different teams. So you can't just play Mavericks players tonight, even though the Mavericks are the guys that look the best for fantasy score at this point in time. So we'll definitely have to find something else to go with there. I'm going to look at 3-pointers made. We'll look at assists. We'll look at rebounds and points since we're already kind of talking through it. So 3-pointers made. Let's see what we got here. So CJ McCollum's at 3. It's against Orlando, so it's a reasonable matchup. Paolo Banchero, I don't really like. Darius Garland, he's made 5 the past 2 games, but if Don Mitchell plays, I don't think he's going to have that many 3-point attempts. Steph, we obviously don't know if he's going to play or not. Spencer Dinwiddie, he's reasonable at 2.5. Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off the ankle, I wouldn't bet on that one. Tyler Hero, just kind of been all over the place lately. Don't really want to bet on that one. Kawhi Leonard, I'm not betting on. Colin Sexton, we're not betting on. Buddy Hield, 3.5. Looked good for a while. But then last game, he only played like 19 minutes. So that one could be either direction. Nembhard, not really chasing that. John Morant. You see the games with random threes for John Morant, but he's most of the time he's not that big a 3-point shooter. Dylan Brooks, I'd consider the under at 1.5 just because he's been playing so terrible as of late, but then I'll probably bite my words and then he'll make like 4. So that's just kind of the way that works with him. The assist, see if we got any ones that stand out in terms of assists. CJ McCollum is pretty reasonable. Marco Fultz at 6 doesn't look too terrible, especially if Franz Wagner misses, but maybe he creates a little bit more on offense instead of getting more assists towards the ball. But that one's not pretty reasonable. Wendell Carter Jr., 2.5. Darius Garland at 8 is definitely not bad. Obviously, we've seen him go over 3 of the past 5 games. Going against Golden State should be a pace-up matchup. Might be against the Golden State reserves, so even if Donovan Mitchell doesn't play and he's going against the reserves, should be pretty good there overall. I would probably look into some of his points plus assists or rebounds plus assists or points plus assists plus rebounds too. If I was looking a little bit more into Darius Garland, see kind of how they're priced out overall. Let's see what else we got here. Luka Doncic at 9 is definitely not bad. We should look at Luka's rebounds as well, but we're probably not going to do any other Luka props because we already get the free square with him either way, and you can't bet multiple props on the same person for Prize Picks overall. So that kind of takes Luka off the slate for that regard. 5 assists for Spencer Dinwiddie is not terrible. Might have to create just a little bit more as well. Bam Adebayo. Let's see Tyler here. See if there's anything else that really stands out at this point in time. Kawhi Leonard under 4.5 assists does not look bad by any means. We might throw that one on just as we're kind of talking about it as one that stands out because he's not a big assist guy just in general either. Trey Jones at 5.5 is pretty much in line. Jakob Poeltl is pretty much in line. Kyrie at 6. I think we talked about that one yesterday as well. Is pretty much in line. See if there's anything else that sticks out. Jokic at 10.5 is probably right on the line as well, just because I feel like if it was 9.5, we could easily do it. So let's see what we got here. So Playboy Brendan, I'm not sure which one it is. I like the under on rebounds for Luka tonight. So let's look at the rebounds for Luka. We'll get there in a second. 2.5 assists for Aaron Gordon is not bad either. He's usually a pretty good assist guy. Let's see what we got. Let's see if we can find Luka real quick. So Luka's at 10.5, but that's a tough one just because you have no Christian Wood tonight. If you're playing with smaller lineups, there's more rebounding opportunities for Luka. Obviously, he's gone under a couple of last games, but I don't know if it's something I personally bet myself. It's kind of hard to put Luka on the thing too, especially when we already have the free square of Luka with points and we can't double up in that regard. So then, I mean, if you want to bet it like on just a generic betting site, I probably do that a little bit more. Let me see what else we got here. In terms of rebounds, see if we got any ones that stand out just off the top. Wendell Carter Jr. 8.5 sounds pretty decent, but obviously there's a couple games where he's been down. Let's see. So that was against Sacramento and Denver. So we got against Sabonis and Jokic. Goes against Valanciunas tonight, who's a pretty good rebounder as well, though. So 8.5 is kind of reasonable at that point in time. Let's see what else we got here. Bam Adebayo 10.5. I know my buddy Iggy really likes this one tonight. It's going against Dallas, who doesn't have Christian Wood. It's just Dwight Powell and JaVale McGee, but at the same time, you can make a case if JaVale McGee plays more minutes, he is a little bit better rebounder than some of those other guys on their team. Tim Hardaway Jr. at 4 feels like an easy under, but I guess he had 5, 4, 8 there too. So he's just not a guy that's typically a big rebounder. So maybe if you're betting on just a generic bet site, that's probably one that you would look at a little bit more. Dorian Finney-Smith at 4.5 is one I like if he starts at the 4 spot tonight in place of Christian Wood, because he's going to have more rebounding opportunities. Obviously, the first game back, he had 9 rebounds. Can't really go too much further back just because he hasn't played in quite some time. Julius Randle at 13 rebounds. It sounds ridiculous when you're talking about it, but there is no Mitchell Robinson tonight. Obviously, most other betting sites have him at 13.5. He's been at 15 the last few times. If you want to bet this tonight, you can definitely do it. Onyeka Okongwu, if he starts, he's not quite the rebounder Clint Capella is. So there is opportunities there as well. Let's see who stands out here. Like at 10.5, you could make a case on the under, a pretty solid case on the under too. Jakob Pearl's a pretty good rebounder. If Zubac doesn't play as many minutes as he typically does, he's not quite as effective without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. If they go a little bit small in this game, there's definitely a reasonable path to him on hitting the under tonight. So Lauri Markkanen up to 9.5 now. Like ever since he's been playing the 4 spot, he's been rebounding the ball pretty good though lately. So Brooklyn's not been the greatest rebounding team as well. If he starts at the 4 spot, you can probably bet the over on that. Honestly, sounds like an aggressive line, but it really isn't at the same time. Rebounding the ball has a little bit lately, more than you expect. Let's see what else we got here. Buddy Hield and a half sounds like a lot. Until last game where he only played 19 minutes, excuse me. So that might not be the greatest either. Miles Turner at 7 versus Denver feels pretty low. If you want to chase this Miles Turner one too, obviously you didn't get it last, but through the 4 games, there's a pretty good chance that he hits 7 tonight. Michael Porter Jr. at 5.5 feels a little high if you want to chase that. Let's see what else we got here real quick. There's a lot of props today, especially on some of these lower guys like this Isaiah Joe here at 2.5. But he's played. I don't know if he had any in that stretch either, though. So that's kind of something to pay attention to. Maybe look into a little bit more if that's something you're looking into. Brandon Clark at 6. What's he been doing lately since he's came back? So 6, 7. Been pretty solid since he's been back, at least. Let me go over the points real quick, and then we'll try to get out of here. But if anybody does have any questions, whether it's DFS related or Prize Picks related, feel free to drop them in the chat or in the comments if you're watching on replay. Let's see what else we got here. So CJ McCollum 25.5. Just seeing if there's anything that really stands out. I know Fultz scoring's been all over the place for him, but he's hit 4 out of the past 5 times. I don't completely mind that if Franz Wagner is out tonight. Maybe we're chasing some Markelle Fultz, whether it's in DFS, whether it's in props. Darius Garland, 23.5. So they're almost probably putting him like Donovan Mitchell is out tonight. And it'd be real interesting to see what they do if Donovan Mitchell actually gets ruled out, if he's going to be even higher at that point in time. 34.5 points for Luka. That feels like a lot. It's a lot for any player, if we're being completely honest. But we already got the free square with over 0.1. Just scoring 1 point, essentially, we'll call it that. Makes it a little bit easier. Spencer Dinwiddie at 16.5. You can definitely look at this. 4 out of the last 5 games, he's hit it. Obviously, there's no Christian Wood tonight. Should be some more shot volume to go around, some more usage to go around. Let's see if there's anything else that really stands out. Max Strus at 10.5 feels pretty hefty with everybody back. But it's still not that hard to get to at the same time. Let's see. Not too much that's standing out in terms of points at this point in time, honestly. Let's see. Sexton at 12.5. Yeah, I know he was bad the last game, so that's why I was trying to look there. Buddy Hield, I don't know if last game was just an aberration or if that's going to be a trend going forward, because then you could bet some unders on Buddy Hield stuff, but it's kind of hard to tell at this point in time. And then let's see. PJ McConnell scoring over double-digit points now with everybody being out. Kind of. So probably don't want to bet that one. Because when you think of TJ McConnell, you think of the guy that gets assists, the guy that gets steals. So not really the guy that scores a ton of points. Is there a Jalen Williams fantasy score today? Because I was betting that one for the longest time. I think when I first started talking a little bit of price picks on the channel, we were betting him quite a bit as well. So not too much that stands out in terms of scoring points today overall. Let me get to the top, see if we can get to see if there's a Jalen Williams fantasy score. Because for a while it was pretty broken, but then they kind of fixed it. I don't see a fantasy score on Jalen Williams at this point in time. If we do get one throughout the day, probably post down before. So can you take a look at Fultz points in the first half? Yeah, I can go over there. Typically for me, I personally don't bet the halves as much just because it's easy for a guy to get hurt, get into foul trouble. So points first half, 6.5 for Markelle Fultz. He's been 11, 2, 10, 10, 8. So it's pretty reasonable there. The one game was against Utah. I know there was a game recently where he kind of either just, he wasn't the greatest. I think he got in foul trouble though as well. Don't quote me on that at this point in time though. So that's pretty much kind of what I got right now in terms of price picks. The ones that kind of stood out to me the most that I like doing, Luka Doncic over the free square essentially, where you just got to score 1 point. Spencer Dinwiddie, whether you want to take the points or the fantasy score, the more on him. And I like the less assist on Kawhi Leonard at 4.5. You could also look at some of those other rebounding props that we talked about. You could look at kind of betting the under on some other Zubac stuff. Personally, for me, I do the flex play because you only get 2 out of 3 right. Yes, it pays a little less. But at the same time, if one of your guys misses like one of the ones that I had yesterday, 25.5 points for DeMar DeRozan, he got 26. I still got my other 2 right, so I still made a little bit of profit on the day overall, which don't get me started too much on that DeRozan one because supposedly he was going to be on a minutes limit. The game ended up being a blowout, and he still played 38 minutes and scored 26 points when his line was at 25.5. Don't know what kind of coaching that is, but that's a story for a different day. But that's pretty much what I'm looking at this point in time. I know I threw the $5 down there before. If this is something you want to roll with, go ahead. If there's anything else that changes throughout the day, maybe something else that pops up, especially since we're getting more fantasy scores as the day moves along. If something really moves for a line, I'll try to leave that down in the comments as well. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I got at this point in time. Once again, if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. If you're already a subscriber, if you or if you're just becoming a subscriber, be sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on whenever I go live for a live stream or do the regular pre-recorded video for the NBA DFS Core Picks. And then with that being said, pretty much all I have for today. Going to be doing a lot of NBA DFS, going to be doing some prize picks, going to be doing a little bit of NFL draft content as well in the coming weeks. So if that's something you're into as well, definitely be sure to check that out as well. But with that being said, that's really all I have for today. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed. And then with that being said, I can't talk right now. And then with that being said, definitely do appreciate everybody that tuned in for the live stream or that is watching this on replay. It does make a big difference in general, and do appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope that each and every one of you does have a great rest of your day.